What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fans View podcast. Today, we're heading to New England on the independent scene to sit down with one of its rising standouts. We're talking grind. We're talking growth. We're talking about the moments that test you and why her name is the one you're going to be hearing a lot. And that is Sara Jade, or you might know her as the Bully. Sara, how are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. How are you doing today?
I am so good, and I am so happy that we could have you on.
Yes.
We're trying something a little new today. We're going to go audio only, and we're going to put your badass highlights on the YouTube video. But I think this is a fun change of pace.
Yes, definitely. I agree.
And for those that don't know, obviously no one knows but us, we've been trying to make this work for the better part of 6-8 months, would you say?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely been busy, and being a college student as well. It's definitely been busy, but I am very happy to be a part of the interview today. So thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm so excited to have you. Let's just jump into it. You know, New England wrestling, it has such a unique identity, and you've carved out, quite a lane for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, let's rewind that a bit. Like, how did you find yourself in this crazy business? Was wrestling something you grew up as a fan of, or did you find it later in life?
Yeah, so I grew up watching wrestling with my brothers and my dad, and I was probably around, I want to say like 10 years old. I was glued to the TV growing up. I remember it used to be past my bedtime, and I was glued to my tablet because I tried to, hide the tablet, without getting in trouble watching WWE.
I
Although,
love it. Never works. Never works.
Never worked, got in trouble, but I was, glued to that TV watching WWE growing up. And I used to go to events too. Yeah.
I love it. You're a lifer. You've been in this thing since the beginning.
Yes. Yes.
Who are some of the first wrestlers that you can kind of remember connecting to, whether it be their personalities, athleticism, who pulls you in?
Yeah. So, honestly, I remember being really glued to, Charlotte Flair. I actually remember I used to do a lot of research on her online, and I saw that she was a D1 athlete for volleyball, and I also did volleyball at the time. So I was like, wow, we have so much in common. Not actually, but
I love it. Hey, nothing wrong with that. That's a hell of a person to look up and try to model your career after. So, I'm not mad at it.
Definitely. And I just remember I was journaling in my notebook, and I was just like, I want to be her one day. And I remember writing in my journal about how I want to be a part of the WWE and how I want to be just like Charlotte Flair. So it all started definitely at a young age, but I honestly would say that Charlotte Flair is the one that I looked up to. Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love that. So you're a lifelong fan at this point. You're old enough to train. What made you say to yourself, you know what? I like watching this. Let me go toss my body around and just beat the crap out of myself.
Honestly, I would just say, just the love for the sport, the passion. And, I just said, I am going to be a professional wrestler one day. And that's it. I'm not going to let anyone tell me that I can't do it, because I'm going to either way.
Hell yeah.
Many people have been like, oh, a wrestler? What? I said, yep, I'm going to be a wrestler one day. Now look at me.
Hey, I like it. I like it. It takes a bit of stubbornness, a little luck, a little bit of everything mixed up in the pot, and then here we are.
Mm-hmm.
When you first walked into training, first off, where did you train? second off, what humbled you the fastest?
I train at the Lockup Academy in Fall River, Massachusetts, and I started when I was 17. Um, I remember just looking up schools near me, and the Lockup was the first one that is the closest to me. So I emailed Steve Ricard, and I said, "Hey, I'm interested in being a wrestler. Um, how can I start?" And I remember I went to one of their trainings and I started from there, and very, very happy about that decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Fans don't understand how hard the training is just to get into the business because
Mhm.
not for nothing, wrestlers are still very protective even in 2020. When did you start at? 2022? Oh
I
no, you were 17,
started
so
2020. Honestly, I was 17, so like what, 2020? If I
okay.
think off the
Okay,
top of
yeah.
my
So
Yeah.
2020 wrestlers are still very protective of the business,
Yes.
so they might tend to be a little rougher on the newbies. How brutal was that first couple days of wrestling training for you?
Oh, it that's funny you say that. It was honestly not it was, it was painful because I have never experienced a sport like this in my life. So it was definitely different than volleyball, softball, and basketball, but it was a little painful. Although I remember I was like, wow, my first bruise.
I love it. I love it.
And
Um,
my mom was actually like, you know what? Yeah, you wanted to be a wrestler. There you go. I said, that's right.
I love it. I love it. And it's not all just the physicality. I want to talk about like the Sarah Jade character, that bully character that you've kind of adopted. Uh,
Hmm.
at what point do you feel like you kind of found the character that you find yourself in now? Is Sarah Jade an amplified version of you, or is she a completely separate persona?
Oh, honestly, I would say she is completely a different persona because Sarah Bully Jade is, the hot, young, and talented. She's better than everyone she steps in the ring with, she's, just the fireball is how I would view my character.
Okay, yeah, I like that. I could see that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Did it take a while for you to get comfortable in that? Because obviously, like you said, the Sarah Jade character is kind of like she's hot. She knows she's hot.
Mhm.
She's
Yep,
better than you. You're not going to do anything
absolutely.
about it. How long did it take for you to get confident in that role?
Honestly, I would say it took me a couple of years to get confident in that role because when I was 17, I remember I was so nervous to express myself and just introduce myself in front of everyone because I was just a shy person growing up. So this was completely out of my comfort zone. But I would say it took me definitely like a couple of years to get the hang of it.
Well, you know what? I follow you closely on social media. I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say you've got the hang of it at this point.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
um, the New England independent scene has produced, so many respected talents, even women and men alike. I mean, famously, Sasha Banks, Mercedes
Mhm.
Monet is from the Boston area,
Yep.
and it has a very gritty, very passionate fan base. What do
Mhm.
you think is it about New England wrestling that makes it different from anywhere else in the country?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me think. Honestly, I would just say you know, the people in New England are just, I feel just so talented and
Right.
just unique in their own character. And this goes for anywhere else, but like in New England, I feel like the talent is just, outrageous, if that's the right word.
Right.
Like so many promotions too. So I am very thankful to be in New England and experience this opportunity.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Who is someone, because no one knows better than somebody that's knee deep in it, and suffice to say you're knee deep in it. Who's someone in the New England scene besides Sara Jade that you think deserves more attention right now than they get?
Honestly, there's a lot. I cannot think of one person off the top of my head, but I would say there's a lot. Um, I would say Delmi XO.
Okay.
I would say she's amazing. I have worked with her several times. For Pro Wrestling Super Show, that was probably one of my favorite matches, I would say. Working with Delmi, so I would say Delmi, definitely.
Okay.
Mhm,
I like that. I like that a lot. Um, to kind of pivot off of that and kind of get into the in ring a little bit more.
mhm.
When fans describe your in ring style, what do you hope they say? What are you aiming for?
I would hope that they would say, "Wow, she is the hot, young, and talented." Honestly, because I am.
I love that.
Yes, that strong, confident, arrogant, character. Because that is how I view myself. So I would hope they would be thinking the same as well.
I love it. You're such a natural born heel.
Thanks.
Is there and this question I'm just going to go ahead and preface it by saying I know it's going to be a hard one to pick out, so don't feel pressure. But
Okay.
is there a match in your career so far where you've kind of walked to the back after the match through the curtain and been like, okay, yeah, I belong here?
That's I honestly am gonna say the match against Masha. All right.
Okay.
I faced Masha at ICW, and wow, that was an amazing match, I feel, in my opinion. She, really, what's the word? She went rough and tough on me, and I am so thankful she did that because I feel like I got to, like I got to be Sarah but times 10. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was,
Right.
hardcore, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Love it. I love
Mhm.
that. This isn't ballet, right?
No, no, this is not.
What would you say maybe has been the toughest moment of your wrestling career so far, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, whatever that may mean to you?
I would have to say, getting in my head sometimes, saying that not every day is going to be a sunshine, right?
Absolutely.
There's some days where I'm like, I could be better. I doubt myself here and there. So I would say mentally, some days it's definitely a challenge for me. But
Hmm.
I get up and I just keep going and do my thing every single day, no matter what.
Hell yeah, that's I mean that's the approach, right?
Yes,
every day get 1% better. That's it.
absolutely.
Now we're gonna fantasy book a little bit. If Sarah Jade could wrestle anyone, whether it be the independent scene or televised, who's at the top of that list?
Oh, I am going to say Charlotte Flair. Mm,
That is the natural answer. That's I would
yep,
expect nothing else.
absolutely.
And while we're fantasy booking, let's in this terrible fantasy, wrestling doesn't exist. What would Sarah Jade be doing if wrestling wasn't a part of her life?
Oh, I would say, um, honestly, I would say just keep pursuing volleyball. Honestly, actually, before I started wrestling, volleyball it was my life,
Right.
and yeah, I love doing volleyball, but I love wrestling more. So I would say be doing volleyball definitely.
Fair enough. Uh, as we kind of start to round this thing out, I have two questions that I have to hit every guest with. They're my two favorite questions, and I can't let you go without throwing them your way. Number one being, obviously, this is the Fans View podcast. I'm just a nerdy fan who enjoys talking to athletes. What are you a fan of outside of the ring?
Outside of the ring, do you mean like hobbies of
Yeah,
mine? Is
yeah. What do you enjoy when you're not wrestling related?
I enjoy spending time with my friends and family. I enjoy taking my dogs for a walk. I have a German Shepherd, so that's
Okay.
my baby.
That's a
Enjoy.
full-time job.
Definitely, definitely. I enjoy taking her for walks. I would say I enjoy singing here and there, putting on my headphones and
Okay.
just singing in the car. When I'm working out at home, I'm always singing, or playing the piano. So
I
those
love
are
it.
my hobbies.
I love it. Well, last but not least, again, this is my favorite question to ask. You're a young lady, you're a young woman in this business. How, at this stage of your, not just your career, but of your life in general, how do you define success?
I define success through passion. I don't know if it's going to sound like the right answer, but being passionate of something you love. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Like, for example, wrestling. I am very passionate about wrestling, and I feel that being in the business for like 5 years, I feel I've had a lot of success with wrestling. And I hope to keep that, keep this journey going and make more successful memories.
For sure. I mean, there is no right answer, but I feel like that is the right answer. So
Thanks.
we're gonna take that. Sarah, I appreciate you so much for making the time to come on the fans view today. I think people are really gonna walk away with an understanding not just of the wrestler, but the
Mhm.
person and the grind behind it. Tell everyone where they can follow you and support your journey.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. You guys can follow me on my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok by Sara Bully Jade, aka the hot, young, and talented.
Love it. I love the confidence. I love everything about your presentation. And I know
Thank
the people
you.
that are listening to this podcast are definitely, gonna follow you, gonna support you and show some love. And hopefully they enjoy you as much as I do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again for having me. I had a blast.
Absolutely. We're gonna make sure this is the first of many appearances on the show.
Absolutely.
Guys, make sure to go support Sarah. If you're up in the Northeast, up in the New England area, go support her at a show. Buy an 8 by 10, buy a t-shirt. And if you can't support her monetarily, that follow button is always free. So guys, make sure to go show her some love. And don't forget, most importantly, call your mom.
If you haven't liked or subscribed, you're going to be joking me.